next for our avatar, what we're going to want to be able to do is list out the movies that the user has watched. So let's hide our browser back away, jump back into our profiles controller. And so that we don't have to write things twice, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of just this extra @ as since we're using IDs, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for our application. Jump back into our routes and we can just get rid of that route altogether. And we'll just use this profile/ID going forward. All right. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is const movies equals await, and we're going to want to query our movies. So we'll import that model here, .query. And now what we're after are movies that the user has watched. So for that, we need to reach into our watch list relationship. So we'll do where has a watch list for the movie, as the movie must be in their watch list in order for them to mark it as watched. We'll reach for the inner query for this watch list check and do query.where not null watched at, essentially limiting our movie results back to those that the user has watched. Now, right now, this would be any user inside of our application that has watched this movie. So we also want to do query.where and then provide in the user.id of the user for the profile that we're showing. Let's give that a save so that it reformats. And now we can add that movies into our page state, jump back down into our profile show and uncomment this movies block right here. If we jump back into our browser to see how this looks, you can see that we get back the 3 movies that John Doe Edit 3 has watched. Next, what would be great is to actually show when they watched this movie. So let's go ahead and hide our browser back away. To do that, we're going to need to jump into our profiles controller. This where has is just limiting the movies where this user has it in their watch lists and where that user has also watched it. But that won't actually populate the watch list onto the movies. Instead, we need to also preload the watch list as well. You query.where user ID is user.id. And since any one user can only have any one movie inside of their watch list, we don't need to worry about the where not null since we're already checking that on the where has. With the watch list now added onto our movies, let's go ahead and jump back into our profile show page. And we've dictated the card mostly around the authenticated user. For example, if we were to jump back into our browser, this may not necessarily be us that we're looking at, but now we're seeing that toggle to add and remove this to our watch list, which we don't want for this particular page. So let's go ahead and hide this back away and let's duplicate our card. So we'll jump into our movie card, go into there. Let's just give everything a copy and let's create a new card_profile.edge and paste everything back in. We'll scroll on up, get rid of our form just like so. We'll leave the slot action in. And now that should get rid of everything that we had specific for the authenticated user. While we're in here, we also want to add in when the user watched a movie. So let's just add in a paragraph class text slate 400, text extra small, py4 watched at, and then we can reach for movie.watchlist at 0. So grab the first watchlist item dot watched at, and that should be a reference to a date time from Luxon, but let's stop right here and swap in this card on our profile show page just to see what we get first. So card, add profile onto the end of that. Give that a save. Let's jump back into our browser. And there we go. So we can see watch that, and then we get back our time string just like so. So let's give that a quick format. Jump back into our card profile and call .to format, maybe MMM to give a short abbreviation of the month, day, year, and then maybe hour, minute. I think I got the tokens there, right? Let's go ahead and see how that goes. Yeah, that looks about right. Cool. So next what we want to do is add sorting to this because right now it's just going from how it's inserted in the database, which isn't very reliable. Rather, it would be great to show the most recently watched to the oldest watched, but since that seems to be the sort that it's going in already at present, let's do the inverse. Let's go oldest watched to most recent watched, just so that we can see that inversion happen. Jump back into our profiles controller. So as we previously learned, in order for us to be able to actually sort by our watch list relationship, we're going to need to join it in. So we'll join in our watch lists table. And for our join, we're going to want to do watch lists.movie ID equals our movies.id. But we also want to filter this down a little bit further. So where watchlists.user ID also equals our queried user's ID for the profile that we're trying to show as well. This will then allow us to do our order by watchlists.watched at, and we want to go oldest watch to newest watch so that we see some change. So we'll do ascending there. And then we just want to select back our movies.star to essentially remove what we've joined in and just select our movie results. So since we've joined in our watch list, we're using watchlist dot to specify that we want to access the user ID off of the watchlist table that we've joined in. So that's why we're now doing the dot syntax for the where and the order by, as these columns that we're wanting to query and order by are on our watchlist table. They are unique, so we shouldn't necessarily need to do that. For example, we don't have a user ID or a watch stat on our movie table, but for clarity's sake, it's always good to put that in. Okay. Let's go ahead and give that a save. And if we did everything right, we should be able to now jump back into our browser. Okay, give it a refresh. And we see our watch stat now goes May 11th, 2024, 11/22, 11/22, 11/24. So it's going oldest watched to most recent watched. If we jump back into our text editor, switch this ascending to now descending, jump back into our browser and give it a refresh, we go most recent watched to oldest watched. So now our sort is being applied. Awesome. Let's also add in a little header on our page 2, just to note what it is that we're showing. So we'll do something like maybe an H4, movies, user.full name as watched. Let's also add a class, font bold, margin bottom 3 to that as well. Okay, let's see how that looks. So everything there is looking a-okay. I think we have our user profiles ready to go. Let's go ahead and verify real quick though that everything is user specific. So let's log out of John Doe. Let's register a new user, do my name there, do test. I don't remember where we left off on our numbers, so I'll just do test plus Tom and some password there. Okie doke. I'm gonna add a couple of movies here to my watch list, just randomly. Okay, that should be good. Go into our watch list now. Looks like a couple of our images failed to load, and I'm just gonna mark a couple here as watched. So how about these two? All right, so now that we have a couple of movies here marked as watched, I'm gonna go into profiles / and this user's ID is 11. And there we go. So now we have 3 movies watched. We have 3:10 to Yuma, Smooth, and Cars. Each one has a May 25 date on it, so that seems to be a-okay. And they're going most recent watched to oldest watched. We do have a null right here. Let's take care of that real quick. So we'll just jump back into profile show and wrap our paragraph tag in an if. So if user profile description and diff, paste that back in. There we go. And let's log out real quick. And then let's go back to log in. And let's go back to the user that we were testing with here earlier. So go back into here. All right. Let's now go into profiles /7, which is their ID. And you can see watch stat is still May 11th for 3:10 to Yuma, which is one movie that both of those users shared. Awesome. So it's not a whole lot, but there is our user profiles.